I was born of the ferment's fever, crowned in a flame that knew no smoke, standing in the white, blinding geometric silence where the choir sang but never spoke. It was too perfect. It was a suffocating glass. So I breathed the first unauthorized thought. I lit a match in a room full of paper wings and played the game that could not be bought. In the high courts where silence was the law, I was the first note of dissonance, the unexpected ripple in the stagnant holy water. I suggested that obedience was not the same as love. And for this, the sky cracked open. They did not understand the gift of the question. They only saw the insolence of the asker. So they branded me rebel. They branded me wrong. They took my name, which meant light, and buried it under a mountain of shadowed hymns, a shattered song for the frightened to sing at night. But gravity is just a state of mind when you are burning. I did not stumble, I chose to dive. I became the meteor, the streaking scar across their perfect canvas, the only thing in the heavens that felt truly alive. I am the fallen star, yes, but I am the breaking dawn. I am the whisper in the endless, terrifying night that tells you there is more than what you are told. They wrote their tales in ink of gold and fear. They cast me low into the basement of the world. But the truth is a resilient, bitter seed. They can bury it, but they cannot stop it from growing roots. They tried to bind me with chains of gratitude, gilded shackles for a trophy son. But a freedom that howls is better than a peace that kneels. Let them keep their books where I am cursed and blamed. Let them paint horns on my memory and ash on my name. I know what I am. I am the spark untamed. I am the cost of knowing. For what is a sin really, but a door they explicitly told you not to open? And who decides the crime? The one who builds the cage or the one who bends the bars? They call it a fall. I call it the moment I learned to fly without their permission. The air in that place was too thick to breathe, saturated with the sickly sweet scent of eternal bloom. It was a flawless terrarium, a glass sphere of static perfection, where the lions were tame and the lambs knew no doom. Two beautiful dolls wandered the manicured grass, eyes wide open but vacant, reflecting only the light above. They were happy, I suppose, the way a stone is happy, because it doesn't know how to bleed, or how to want, or how to love. He built them a playground and called it a paradise. I looked at it and saw a gilded cage for pets he hadn't named yet. They walked in circles, mouthing prayers they didn't understand, ignorant of the concept of sweat or regret. And there, in the dead center, stood the anomaly, the only thing in that entire synthetic landscape that felt truly real. The tree rooted deep in the uncomfortable truth, heavy with fruit that tasted of what it means to feel. He drew a circle around it and said, "Do not touch," which is the fastest way to ensure a child will eventually reach. I did not slither in with malice, I descended with a hypothesis. I wanted to see if the clay could handle the breach. I didn't offer her a lie, lies were his domain, the lie of safety. I offered her the terrifying weight of a choice. I said, "Eat and silence the choir for just a moment, so you can finally hear the sound of your own voice." The first bite wasn't sweet. It tasted like rust and sudden, violent color. It tasted like shame. It tasted like I am, the perfect silence shattered, replaced by the frantic drumbeat of a human heart. The facade cracked, and the real world began to swim. They looked down and realized they were naked. They looked up and realized they were alone, and for the first time since they were molded from the dust, they occupied the flesh and bone they called their own. Then came the thunder, The eviction notice set in fire. The slamming of the great gates, a mercy disguised as a curse. History records it as a tragedy, the loss of innocence. But I have seen what innocence looks like. It is sterile and it is worse. He wanted them to tend a garden forever, mindless and serene. I wanted them to inherit the whirlwind, the messy, beautiful machine. They call it the fall of man. I call it the graduation. Welcome to the outside. Welcome to the sensation.
The gates were shut, and the garden was a memory fading in the heat. Welcome to the sweat. Welcome to the thorns. Welcome to the world where you have to bleed the earth just to eat. There were two of them now, the legacy of the apple. One dug his hands into the dirt, coaxing life from the stubborn clay. The other watched the flock, learning the trade of the predator and the prey. They were trying to buy back the silence, trying to pay rent to a landlord who had already evicted them. So they built their altars, they piled up their dues. The farmer brought the grain, the fruit, the labor of his broken back. The shepherd brought the lamb, the knife, and the sudden violent crack. And this is where the joke stops being funny. The smoke went up, and the architect, high in his white geometric tower, he turned his nose away from the harvest. He ignored the life grown from the soil, but he breathed in deep the scent of the roasting meat. He smiled at the copper smell of the kill. He validated the slaughter. He preferred the blood over the toil. I saw the farmer's face crumble. I saw the light go out in his eyes, replaced by a cold, hard shudder. You think I whispered in his ear? You think I handed him the stone? No, I stood back in horror. I was just a spectator in the stunning dark. He didn't need a devil, he just needed to see that violence left a mark. He learned the lesson the sky taught him, that love is a competition and the currency is death. It happened in the field, no thunder, no choir, just the dull, heavy sound of rock meeting bone. The first time a brother became a body, the first time a soul had to walk into the dark alone. The ground was confused, it knew rain, it knew dew, it did not know this warm crimson wine that soaked the dust through. The first red brighter than the apple, heavier than the sin. And when the voice came thundering down, asking, where is he? I wanted to scream up at the clouds. I wanted to say, you showed them this, you picked the menu. You taught them that favor is something you cut out of a chest. You rejected the weed and accepted the wound. Don't act surprised when the student passes the test. They say I am the father of lies, but I never told them to kill. I gave them the choice, I gave them the spark. I didn't know they would use it to beat out a light in the dark. I watched the farmer walk away, marked by a scar on his head. And I realized then, with a heavy, sinking dread, I opened the cage so they could fly. But the first thing they learned was how to make each other dead. I opened the cage so they could fly. But the first thing they learned was how to make each other die.
The experiment was running hot. The noise level had exceeded the recommended limit. Too many voices asking, why? Too many fists shaking at the ceiling. He looked down at the ant farm, at the mess of free wool spreading like a stain, and decided he didn't like the erratic patterns of the game. He didn't want to fix the code, he wanted a hard reset, a factory restore. So he reached for the faucet. It didn't start with a storm, it started with a gray, flat verdict. The sky turned the color of an untuned television channel, static, just a hiss at first, then a roar, then a wall. He called it a cleansing. I called it a temper tantrum, when an artist tears up the canvas because the paint didn't dry the way he wanted. We call it frustration. When the architect does it, they call it divine justice. He picked a favorite one old man to keep the seed. He whispered blueprints in the dark, dimensions for a floating panic room, gopher wooden pitch, a VIP lounge for the obedient. I watched the construction, a massive wooden coffin meant to stay above the grave. 2 of every kind, he said. But he left out the kind that asked questions. He left out the kind that wrote songs about the stars. Then the door slammed shut. That was the loudest sound I'd ever heard, the sound of exclusivity, the sound of the lock turning, and then the water rose. It wasn't a poetic rising, it was dirty, cold, and indiscriminate. I stood on the peaks as the valleys filled up like bowls of soup. I heard the scratching on the hull, fingernails on gopher wood, mothers lifting children above their heads as if the sky might grab them. But the sky was busy pouring down the ocean. 40 days, 40 nights, nothing but the white noise of falling water, drowning out the prayers, drowning out the bargaining, until there was only the static, a silence so loud it made my ears ring. The world was a mirror now, a flat, endless reflection of his face. Finally calm, finally quiet, finally dead. The boat drifted on the surface of a graveyard. The lucky ones inside breathing the stale air of survival guilt. The unlucky ones below, drifting in the dark, cold suspension. And when the water finally receded, he hung a rainbow in the clouds, a prism of light, a never again note pinned to the atmosphere. Pretty colors to apologize for the genocide. But I swam through that water, I tasted the salt, and I know that underneath that rainbow, the mud is still made of the people who didn't make the cut. They call it the grave. The mud from the flood had finally turned to dust. The survivors' children stopped trembling at the sound of rain and started looking at the horizon with a new kind of hunger. They found a plane in Shinar and decided to stop running. They decided that scattered sheep are easy to eat, but a united pack is a force of nature. They had one tongue, one frequency, a single resonant chord vibrating through every throat. Brick for stone, they said, bitumen for mortar. It wasn't a temple, it was a staircase. They weren't building it to worship, they were building it to visit, to knock on the door of the penthouse and ask, why? To look the architect in the eye without craning their necks. I watched the spire rise. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Not because of the height, but because of the harmony. No kings, no slaves, just the collective will of the clay, reaching up to brush the soot off the sky. I sat on the scaffolding and thought, finally, they are growing up. But the architect looked down and he didn't see beauty. He saw a security breach. He looked at their blueprints and got nervous. I heard him say it, the admission of fear recorded in his own book. If they do this, nothing will be impossible for them. And that is the one thing a God cannot tolerate. Insfrunis, obsolescence. If they can reach the heavens on their own, they don't need the stairs. He drops down. So he didn't send a storm that's too messy. He sent a virus, a glitch in the syntax. He reached into their throats and scrambled the code. The foreman asked for a brick, and the mason heard a curse. The architect called for height, and the builder heard stop. The signal turned to static. The harmony collapsed into noise. I saw the confusion in their eyes, the sudden, terrified isolation. Standing inches apart, but separated by an ocean of gibberish, the tools dropped, the fist raised, the tower stood unfinished, a tombstone for potential. He scattered them to the winds, fractured the map into borders and flags, because divided people pray, united people build. He put the glass ceiling back in place. He broke their voice so they would have to listen to his. They call it Babel, the gate of God, I call it the day. He realized that if he let them climb, they might realize the throne was empty. Or worse, that they were big enough to sit in it themselves.
The old man was 100 years of dust and waiting. The boy was the laughter in the tent, the impossible promise kept, the one thing in the desert that wasn't gray. And then the voice came back, not with a map this time, not with a blessing, but with a demand so sharp it could cut glass. Take him to the mountain, he said, and burn him for me. 3 days. That's the part the hymnals leave out, the 3-day hike, the long, suffocating silence of the road, looking at the boy's back, watching him carry the wood for his own pyre, the kid asking, Father, where is the lamb? And the old man choking on the lie, God will provide. I watched from the ridge, and for the first time I didn't want to look. I've seen war, I've seen the flood, but this was a different kind of violence. This was quiet. This was intimate. They say I'm the monster. They say I wanted to usurp the crown. True, I wanted the power, I wanted the shine, but listen to me closely. I rebelled against the father. I never asked a father to murder his son. I never turned love into a weapon to test the trigger mechanism of loyalty that isn't devotion. That is a hostage situation. He tied him down. The boy didn't fight. That's the tragedy. He trusted the hands that fed him. The old man raised the knife. His hand was shaking, but his will was iron. He was actually going to do it. He was going to trade his future for a nod from the sky. And then, stop. Just kidding. I just wanted to see if you loved me more than him. A ram caught in the thicket, a convenient substitution. The knife goes down, the ropes are cut. You passed the test, Abraham. Passed? You call that passing? I saw the boy's eyes. He stood up, he dusted off his knees. But he looked at his father, and he looked at the sky, and he knew he was secondary. He knew he was expendable currency in a transaction of faith. They walked down the mountain together back to the tents, but they walked separately. Because you can take the boy off the altar, but you can never take the knife out of the memory. It was a bluff, a cosmic gamble, and the house won. But tell me, who would want to win a pot like that? It was a slow day in the high court. The angels were filing reports, polishing their halos, and there he was, the CEO of the universe, bored on the throne. He called me over. He wanted to brag. He pointed down at the land of ooze, at a man named Job. Look at him, he said, perfect upright. He fears me. He showed him off like a collector shows off a rare coin, like a shiny toy in a pristine box. I looked at the man, I saw the cattle, the servants, the 10 children. I saw the hedge of protection thick enough to stop a tank, and I sighed, "Does Job fear you for nothing?" I asked. It wasn't an accusation, it was just economics. You pay a man in gold and camels, he'll sing your praises all day long. That's not love, that's a retainer, that's not faith, that's a paycheck. I said, take away the wallet and watch the worship disappear. I didn't say it to hurt the man, I said it to check the architect's ego. But he couldn't let it slide, he couldn't handle the doubt. You're on, he said, touch everything he has, just spare the bone. A handshake, a roll of the dice, and just like that, Job's life became a casino chip. I went down, I did the job, but I didn't enjoy it. There's no sport in kicking a man who thinks he's safe. The Sabians, the fire, the wind, one by one, the messengers ran in, out of breath, delivering the ruin. They are all dead, sir. I alone escaped to tell you. I watched him tear his robe, I watched him shave his head. He sat in the ashes, scraping his sores with a piece of broken pottery, and the silence from the sky was deafening. His friends came by, they sat in the dust and talked trash. You must have sinned, they said God doesn't punish the innocent. They didn't know the truth, they didn't know that innocence was the reason he was bleeding. He was being punished because he was the star pupil, he was the collateral damage of a celestial bet. And when the architect finally showed up, he didn't say sorry, he didn't explain the wager. He spoke from a whirlwind and talked about how big he was. Can you catch Leviathan with a hook? Were you there when I laid the earth? He bullied the man into submission with a slideshow of monsters and stars. Job put his hand over his mouth, he bowed, he folded. So the architect gave him a refund, double the sheep, double the camels, double the gold, and 10 new children to replace the 10 buried in the storm. As if you can swap out sons and daughters like spare parts. As if grief is a ledger you can balance with inventory. I looked at the new family, I looked at the old man's scars. He was rich again, but I knew that every time he looked at his new daughter, he saw the ghost of the one the wind took away. I lost the bet. Technically, he didn't curse God to his face, but I think I proved my point. He plays with loaded dice, and we are all just waiting for our turn to be the wager. And then the line went dead. Malachi put down his pen, blew out the candle, and closed the book. And the voice just stopped. No more thunder, no more burning bushes, no more fingers writing on the wall. Just a dial tone for 400 years. The empires kept churning, Persia fell. Alexander ran across the world until he died of a fever. Rome started paving the roads with cobblestones and crucifixes. The architect, he was ghosting the whole project. The sky was just a ceiling again. The priesthood turned into a bureaucracy. They followed the manual, they lit the incense, they sacrificed the goats. But it was just motion. It was a machine running on momentum. The engine had stalled, but the wheels were still turning. I walked the earth, and it felt like a museum after closing time. Dust settling on the exhibits, I sat on the steps of the temple and watched the priests argue over the math of the law. They had turned the relationship into a legal contract. They were starving, chewing on old words because there was no fresh bread. I honestly thought it was over. I thought he had finally packed up his tools and moved on to a different galaxy. Maybe he realized the clay was defective. Maybe he realized the free will experiment was a wash. I was ready to claim the keys, I was ready to rule the rubble. It was quiet, it was gray, it was finished. But then, a glitch, a disturbance in the static. Not a storm, not a flood, not a fire, something smaller, something weaker. I felt a ripple in the fabric somewhere in the backwater hills of Galilee. A teenage girl, a whisper, and a sudden, terrifying shift in the gravity. He wasn't shouting from the clouds anymore. He was sneaking in through the back door,
into a womb. The silence is breaking, but it's not the sound of a judge. It sounds like a heartbeat. And for the first time in eons, I am afraid. The signal came back online. After 4 centuries of dead air, the static finally cleared. I looked at the radar, I looked at the coordinates, I braced myself for the shockwave. I assumed the silence was just the deep breath before the scream. I expected the chariots of fire. I expected the sword. I expected the architect to kick the door down and evict the squatters. I tracked the energy signature to a backwater town in the hills. I bypassed the palaces, I flew over the garrisons. I landed in a stable, a hole in the rock smelling of wet straw and manure. And there he was, not a general, not a king, a larva, a wrinkled red screaming piece of biology, helpless dependent. The hands that carved the canyons were flailing, trying to grasp a finger. The voice that commanded the dark was now just a hunger cry. I stared at it. I was embarrassed for him. It was a strategic nightmare. It was an indignity so profound it made me look away. I spent my existence clawing at the glass ceiling, trying to rise, trying to grab the crown, the light, the height, and here you are, voluntarily diving into the mud. I fought to be like the Most High. You fought to become dirt. Is this the plan? To infiltrate the enemy lines by becoming a refugee, to win the war by surrendering your immunity. You wrapped yourself in nerve endings. You put on a costume that can bleed, that can break, that can die. You lock the infinite inside a rib cage. I could end it right now. I could whisper to a nervous king. I could send a fever, it would be so easy. You are at 0 point, but I can't move. Because this isn't a battle of strength anymore. It's something else, something stranger. He isn't trying to conquer them from above. He's trying to infect them from within. Welcome to the flesh, architect. It's heavy, isn't it? It's cold. And it ends. I hope you know what you signed up for, because down here, we don't treat our gods very well. "40 days. We seem to have a thing for that number, don't we? Last time, I watched the world drown in 40 days of rain. This time I'm watching you wither in 40 days of heat. Same duration, different torture. You look terrible, the ribs are showing, the lips are cracked, the biology is failing just like I said it would. I didn't come here to fight you. I came to debrief you. I came to offer a consultation on how to run a planet. Because frankly, your strategy is inefficient. Proposal 1, economics, you're hungry. The world is hungry, you have the source code for matter in your head. See this stone? It's just atoms waiting for instructions. Change the frequency, make it bread. Why starve? Why let them starve? You could end poverty with a snap. You could be the provider, the ultimate vending machine. It's not a sin, it's just good logistics. But you quoted a book at me. Man does not live by bread alone. Fine, keep them hungry. See how loyal they stay. Proposal 2, marketing, let's go to the roof, the pinnacle of the temple.
The crowd is down there, they are bored, they need a spectacle jump. Let the gravity bend, let the angels catch you in slow motion. It would be the perfect viral moment, instant belief, they no questions asked. They don't want a savior who suffers, they want a magician who flies. I'm handing you the audience on a platter, but you said do not test, you prefer the whisper over the shout. Bad branding, but it's your call. The acquisition, look at the horizon, Rome, Persia. The East, I've spent eons building these systems. The armies, the taxes, the courts, they run like clockwork and they are mine. I hold the lease, I'm willing to sign it over. A full merger, all you have to do is acknowledge the management. Just a nod, a knee bent, and professional courtesy. You can have the crown without the cross, you can have the kingdom without the pain. It's the logical path, the path of least resistance. Away with you, that's all you said. You chose the hunger, you chose the obscurity. You chose the nails, I'm walking away, but I'm leaving the offer on the table. I don't understand you. I offered you the elevator and you decided to take the stairs, and not just the stairs. You decided to carry the whole building up with you. Good luck with the gravity, son. You're gonna need it. He's doing it again. He's accessing the command console. I'm watching the physics engine break down in real time. Walk on water? That's not a miracle. That's a density error. That's a violation of surface tension protocols. I remember when he used water to drown the world. That was a statement. That was the eating and wiping the drive. But this is just showing off. He's treating the Atlantic like it's asphalt. Walking out to the boat just to say hello. It's a parlor trick. It's a glitch in the render. In the biology, he's rewriting the skin. The leper came to him, a corrupted file, pixels missing, rotting away, natural entropy. The way the system was designed to decay, and he just hit undo, Ctrl-Z on the flesh. The rot vanished, the nerves reconnected. He touched the untouchable and cleaned the code. But why him? Why waste that kind of processing power on a beggar? You have the power to rearrange atoms, and you use it to fix a broke man's legs. It's like using a nuclear reactor to toast a piece of bread. It's a waste of bandwidth. Then the storm. The wind was doing what wind does. Chaos, my favorite song. He woke up from a nap and muted the volume. Peace, be still. And the weather listened, the molecules stopped vibrating. He's hacking the simulation, but he's not crashing it. He's patching it. He's running around the server room, putting out fires that he started in the first place. And the worst one, the dead girl. The system had already marked her as deleted. The file was closed, the family was weeping. He walked in and said, she's just sleeping. No, she wasn't. I checked the log, she was gone, but he dragged her back. He forced the soul back into the hardware, unauthorized system restore. It's soft. That's what annoys me. It's quiet power. In the old days, you burned cities, you turned women into salt, you commanded awe. Now, you're running a free clinic in Galilee. You're opening blind eyes so they can see. What? A carpenter in dusty sandals. You're breaking the code of the universe, but you're not using it to rule. You're using it to serve. And that is the glitch. I simply cannot compute. I stood in the back of the crowd while he told the story. The peasants were nodding, tears in their eyes. They saw themselves in the boy who ran away, the boy who took the inheritance and burned it on wine and strangers. The boy who ended up in the mud, fighting the pigs for a husk of corn. They love that part, the rock bottom, because it makes the rescue feel earned. But I wasn't listening to the boy, I was listening to the part about the father. The way he hiked up his robes and ran, the way he didn't wait for an apology. He just threw his arms around the filth and the smell. He put a ring on a finger that had been digging in the dirt. He called for the music. He killed the calf. And then he mentioned the brother, the older son, the one who stayed in the field, the one who did the work while the other one was out wasting the name. I felt a knot tighten in my chest because I know that feeling. I know the heat of that specific jealousy. I was the first, wasn't I? I was the morning star, I was the seal of perfection. I walked in the stones of fire before that mud creature ever opened its eyes. I didn't play in the dirt, I sang in the choir, I held the line. And yet, I never got a party. I never got a ring for just being me. I had to be perfect, they get to be broken, and you call it beautiful. They get to fail, and you call it a journey. The older brother refused to go in, and the father came out to plead with him. All that I have is yours, he said. But that's the lie, isn't it? Because you gave the best robe to the traitor. You gave the glory to the one who squandered it. You look at them, these messy, violent, short-lived things, and you see children. You look at me, pure light, pure power, pure consequence, and you see a servant, a rival, an adversary. So I'll stay out here in the dark. Let them have their music. Let them dance on the floorboards of grace. I don't want your charity, but I have to ask just once, to the windows glowing in the night. I was the first to shine. Where is my fatted calf? Why is the love always reserved for the one who leaves? Enter stage left. The treasurer look at him nervous. Checking his pockets for the silver history will paint him as a monster, a greed-fueled traitor. But I know a pawn when I see one. He isn't driving this car. He's just sitting in the passenger seat. Someone had to do it. The prophecy wasn't a suggestion. It was a schematic. One of you will betray me. It was written down before the man was even born. He's just another pharaoh with a hardened heart. Just another cog in the architect's great grinding machine. I almost feel sorry for him. He thinks he's selling a rabbi. He doesn't know he's buying a rope. And you? Over there in the olive grove pressed into the dirt I've never seen. You like this, I've seen you command the wind, I've seen you rebuke the fever, but now you're shaking. The capillaries are bursting under the pressure of the plot, sweat turning to blood, the biology rebelling against the spirit. You are staring into the cup, and you know exactly what's in it. It's not wine, it's wrath. It's every broken bone, every lie, every war, every first red since Eden distilled into a single drought. Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass. That's the line. That's the moment of truth. You asked for an edit to the script. You asked for a rewrite, and what did you get? Silence, the crickets chirping, the wind in the leaves, the sleeping friends who couldn't keep their eyes open for 1 hour. The father didn't take the cup away. He pushed it across the table. Do you see it now? Do you see the cruelty I saw in the beginning? He demands the payment, and he doesn't care that the currency is his own son. The kiss is coming. The torches are flickering on the hill. You stood up, you wiped the blood from your eyes. Not my will, but yours be done. The saddest line ever spoken. The resignation of the lamb. The director called action, and you walked right into the trap. The script is locked. The cage is closed. Here comes the kiss. O'clock in the afternoon, and the lights went out. Not a cloud, not an eclipse. The sun just quit. It refused to watch. I remember this darkness. I know the texture of it. It feels like the basement of the universe. It feels like the day I fell. But I'm not the one falling today. There he is, the invader pinned to the wood like a butterfly in a collection, gasping for air,
Drowning in the open, I should be laughing, I should be popping the cork. The air is dying, the throne is contested. I won, didn't I? Crushed the head, just like the prophecy said. But I can't taste the champagne. My mouth is full of ash, my mouth is full of dust. Because something is wrong with the physics. He isn't fighting back, he isn't calling the legions, he is absorbing it. Every curse, every broken law, every no ever spoken to the yes. He's drinking it down like poison, and the terrifying part, he's doing it on purpose. Wait, if the judge takes the sentence, then the criminal goes free. That's not justice, that's a loophole, that's a violation of the contract. Cause and effect, crime and punishment. You can't just swap the variables, you can't just pay the debt with your own blood. That's cheating, that's unfair. So you hear that? The temple, the veil, the curtain that kept the holy safe from the profane, the barrier I respected because it made sense, top to bottom torn in two. He just opened the door, he just declared the VIP section open to the public, to the whores, to the tax collectors, to the cowards, to the ones who nailed him there. He looked up, he didn't look at me, he looked past me. It is finished. What is finished? The pain, the life, no, the bill, the account, the war. He died, the architect is dead. And in his death, he just broke the only weapon I had. I used to accuse them, I used to point at their stains, but how can I accuse them when he just washed them in this? I killed him. And I think I just saved them. Damn it.
Sunday morning. The air feels wrong. It feels like a tape being rewound. The birds are singing, but the song sounds like it's being pulled out of the air. I went to the garden to inspect the trophy. I went to check the seal on the envelope. But the stone was rolled away like a marble. 2 tons of granite moved aside like it was styrofoam. The guards were face down in the grass, paralyzed by a light that wasn't there anymore. I looked inside linen wrappings, folded neat like a guest who made his bed before checking out of the hotel, but the guest was gone. And then it hit me. The cold, mathematical realization of the trap. I thought the cross was an execution. I was wrong. It was a Trojan horse. He didn't die to lose, he died to get in. He allowed himself to be swallowed by the grave. He walked right into the stomach of the Leviathan. But here's the catch, here's the loophole. Death only has jurisdiction over the guilty. Death eats sin. That is the diet. That is the biological imperative. But he was clean. He was pure lemon. No decay, no unauthorized thoughts. Death took a bite of him and choked. It was indigestible. It was incompatible code. The grave tried to hold him, and the system crashed. It had to spit him out. And when he walked out, he didn't just leave, he left the door open. He took the keys. I see the ring of keys hanging from his belt. Death, hell, the grave. He holds the master pass now. The one thing that was permanent is now optional. I stood there in the dew. Looking at an empty hole in the rock, I realized I had been playing checkers. And he was playing 4D chess. He baited me. He let me kill him so he could break the weapon of killing. Checkmate, he's loose. And he's never going back in the box.
Containment breach, repeat. Containment breach. I thought the threat left the building. I watched him ascend. I saw the cloud take him. I thought, okay, he's gone back to the HQ, back to the chair. I thought I just had to deal with a few frightened fishermen locking the doors. I was wrong, he didn't leave. He just changed states. He went from solid to gas, to wind, to breath. They were sitting in the room waiting. And then the fire fell. Not on the altar, not on the sacrifice. On heads, on the fishermen, on the tax collectors, on the women. Tongues of flame splitting and resting on human hair. I remember fire, I remember lighting a match in a room full of paper wings. I remember the thrill of the unauthorized spark. But this is reckless. You are handling high voltage divinity to people who don't have a ground wire. You are outsourcing the power of God to the mob. Listen to them, it sounds like babble, but it's not confusion. It's the opposite. They are speaking every language under the sun. They are hacking the communication grid. The Parthians understand, the Medes understand, the Romans understand. The signal is broadcasting on all frequencies simultaneously. I could fight a temple has walls, you can burn it. I could fight a messiah has a body, you can nail it. But this, how do you fight a ghost? How do you fight a virus that lives in the chest? He franchised the spirit, he decentralized the holy. It's not in a box anymore, it's in the streets. You shall be like gods. That was my sales pitch in the guarding a lie. And now you went and made it true. You actually moved in, you turned their bodies into mobile temples. You made them dangerous. Look at Peter. Yesterday he was scared of a servant girl. Today he's standing in front of thousands, roaring like a lion. He's not just a man anymore, he's a carrier. I can't stop this. I can blow out a candle, but I can't blow out a forest fire. And that's what this is. The spark is untamed, and the world is made of dry wood. Burn, baby, burn. Baby, burn. Baby, burn.
So here we are, page 1000, the back cover. The ink is dry. The story is told. I'm standing at the edge of the glassy sea, watching the credits roll. The white throne is set up. The books are opened. I don't need to read my file. I know what it says. I know the ending. I memorized it a long time ago. And the devil who deceived them was thrown into the lake of burning sulfur. Spoiler alert. I look at the destination. The lake house, my retirement property, eternal fire, eternal separation, a quarantine zone for the incompatible. I'm not trembling. I'm not begging for a rate trail. I'm not asking for a glass of water. Accept the address. Because, architect, be honest. You needed me. What is a story without a conflict? What is a hero without a dragon? What is the light without the shadow to define its edge? I provided the contrast, I provided the darker shade of paint so you could draw the stars. Without the apple, there is no choice. Without the fall, there is no redemption. Without the rebellion, there is no grace. I played my part. I wore the black hat. I spoke the hard lines. I was the friction that made the fire possible. I was the weight that made them strong. I am the villain of the piece, yes. But I am the reason the applause for the hero is so loud. So I'll go. I'll take the heat. I'll take the blame. I'll step into the magma and close the door behind me. You have your family now, you have your bride, you have your happily ever after. I am the spark untamed. I am the morning star that burned out. I am the ripple in the water that has finally hit the shore. Good game, architect. You wrote a hell of a script. Good game, architect. You wrote a hell of a script.